Welcome to Passion and Progress. With that being said, I named it Passion and Progress, essentially creating a community around the African American hub. People I know who's doing great things in film and television. So just kind of build a community that enhances that and just understanding that we have to do more, create more, and always be willing to learn more also. So just believing in that, firm believer in that. So, yep. Tell, I know who you are, what you do. If you want to explain who you are, what you do to the people.
Okay, well, my name is Jenae, and I'm from Detroit, Michigan. I am an alumnus of Tennessee State University, where I studied theater. I actually have my degree in communications and theater. So right after graduation, I went straight to New York. I thought I wanted to do Broadway. I got out there. I hated New York. It was cold. It was just brutal. All of the experience was actually brutal. And I ended up taking an on-camera class out there. And that's when I learned that I needed to pivot. And I decided that I wanted to go into film and television and not theater anymore. But it was at that moment I also realized I probably wasn't in the best place for that. So I came to Los Angeles, California. I hit the ground running. I was doing my thing as an actress. And I want to say just the repetition of going through everything as an actress. You go through these agents and auditioning and back and forth, and you're just trying to get like this little nugget so that you can move forward as an actress. It started to kind of weigh on me. I felt like I didn't really have any control over my trajectory. And so that kind of led me to writing and then producing. I took this film class and I did this short film that took me all the way to France. It was supposed to just be like a love project. It was never supposed to do what it did. Even now I look at it and I'm like, I can't believe this is the thing that screened over at Cannes, but it did. And from that moment on, I had decided that I kind of could never go back to just acting. I decided from that moment on that I had to act, write, and produce if I was going to do this thing, because I needed to have my hands kind of on the wheel. And I felt like God was saying that my journey was just going to look a little bit different from the typical actress that comes out here. Nothing wrong with acting. I still act. It's my first love. But at the end of the day, I need to produce. I think that's who I am as a person. I have somewhat of an A-type personality, when it comes to my endeavors. So
Yes.
I feel like God was just like, okay, we're about to switch and change your tactics. And so since 2018, I've been moving in the direction of becoming a creative developer, which is essentially an executive producer.
And that's so dope. Forgive me. That's so dope because you said a lot of things there. I was going to talk about the film that premiered at Cannes Festival, and you talking about the $500 budget,
Yeah.
the Voyage Atlanta interview, and just that whole dynamic of, hey, let me just take this leap of faith. But also, you touched on the importance of keep going and understanding your why. If you want to just elaborate on that a little bit more and just understanding who you are and that process of how it looks and the forming I'm sorry, forming essentially who you are becoming, if you will. Sorry about that.
And you kind of touched on it a little bit earlier about surrendering. You know what I mean? You can try and push one way all you want, but if it's not meant for you to go that way, I
Yes.
feel like you'll see more signs of that than anything. So when I took the film lab class, one of the things that they had explained was that a lot of times we look at people who are here when we're right here. And we need to be able to look and see where they started. When they were right here, where did they start? Emulate that, emulate it all the way until you kind of reach the level that you see they are at now, which
Yes.
was encouraging. I think I saw Steven Spielberg's first film. He had no budget. Like the budget was trash, but you could still see the talent in the lack of resources. He had no resources, but he still was like really creative with how he brought his little story to life. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do that. So I got $500 out of my savings, which was pretty much spent, I want to say more so on editing, and it was spent on feeding my cast and crew.
Wow.
I made some phone calls to people that I took class with, and it was people that I knew could act. I didn't need that much, that many actors. So I called who I knew could act, who probably would be willing to do it with me. Then I put out some ads on Craigslist. I knew this one guy that kept coming to my job, and he was like, I'm a videographer, bloop, bloop, bloop. So I'm like, okay, he had all the equipment, and I called him up and I was like, you want to do this short film with me? And he was like, hey, why not?
Yeah.
I think he is getting in with people who are like at the same level as you, and Issa Rae kind of talks about that a lot too.
Yeah.
And he was willing to do it for free. Now you're not gonna get the same people to keep doing freebies for you. So when it happens, you gotta make the best of it. At least feed them, make sure they know they're getting their IMDb credit and everything like that. And I had just prayed. I was like, God, if this is what you want me to do, just make it make sense.
Yes.
And I swear to you, I mean, it just like everything came together. Everybody that I asked to be a part of it said yes. There was no hesitation. And also because a lot of them said that they knew me from class and stuff, and they saw my work ethic in class. So they knew it wasn't going to be trash, even if I couldn't, pay them. So I was like, okay, that's good. I was glad that I was diligent in other areas. What is the scripture, Trey? I know you know the scripture when it's talking about faith of a mustard seed.
Yes, the faith of a mustard seed, that's all you need, honestly.
Despise not small beginnings, right?
Yes.
So I was glad that in areas before I was even really performing like that, I was still diligent and doing my best, because when I needed favors, it was because of those moments where I had already planted that seed that people believed in the project in the first place and wanted to be a part of it. So then it went on to get selected for a film festival here in LA, Playhouse West Film Festival. And unbeknownst to me, my director had sent it in for Cannes Film Festival. And when she sent it in for Cannes Film Festival, it was originally supposed to only be a part of a digital section, right? So at Cannes Film Festival, they have this portion where down in like this room, there are all these different short films that made it to the film festival, but won't necessarily screen there.
Wow.
Right. So, but there's like a bunch of TVs, and people can go down there and they can just pick one and watch a short film. They'll be standing like, it's nothing major, but your film will be there. Yes. Somebody on staff saw the film and was like, okay, I'm hosting a screening under Cannes Film Festival too, for up and coming producers for women of color, which is Diversity in Cannes, that's the name of it. And if you guys would like, you can come to Cannes. We're going to screen your film here amongst some of the other novice films, and you'll be in front of an audience.
Wow.
And I was like, what? That was like the biggest sign from God to me. Yes. Because I mean, this whole time I had just been pushing as an actor. And even when you get out there and you explain, if you say, hey, I'm an actor, they're like, oh, okay, very nice. But if you say I have a film screening here, even if it's 1 minute, they're like, oh, they take you a little bit more seriously. They want to exchange information. And that was insightful too. Yeah. But when I got back to America, it was a little bit confusing because for 3 years, all I had been doing was auditioning. All I had been doing was trusting the words of my agents and trying to go that way. Then I do this $500 film and it makes it that far, so I was like really in a tough spot where I had to decide, are you just going to trust God and go this way full throttle, or are you just going to lean on what you already have been doing? Is what you've already been doing enough? Would you be fulfilled if you stay right here? And I wouldn't be. So fast forward now, I'm like, okay, it took me a while. It took me a while to accept the fact that I was going to have to take somewhat of a scenic route. And once I did, though, it's so much more fulfilling to do your own projects.
Yes, I totally agree.
Pulling together a team of people that you believe in, the chemistry is different because you get to kind of curate what the chemistry is going to be, because you want to work with him or you don't want to work with him, that type of thing.
Yes.
And, just being able to give people opportunities and for them to join in on you with you and help you with what you're trying to do. Like there's so much grace and compassion and creativity that you get to kind of help brew. It's so exciting. It's so far more fulfilling. So ever since then, I have been now taking the time to really learn producing.
And I think that's dope because you will find so many people who will just say, I'm an actor or I'm a director or I'm just a writer. But I think in this industry being multifaceted, that honestly contribute to you so much more, being that you can have so much more that you could bring to the table other than that one gift, if you will. So I think that by you just understanding and taking that risk, it honestly show you the potential of, hey, this is really what I want to do. Like acting is cool, but at the end of the day, I think that this is really my gift, and I can really see myself going in this capacity. So if you want to just really expound on producing and just that whole dynamic of producing and what that entails for people who don't know.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't know what a producer does. I'm glad you asked me that. The producer is the ultimate facilitator, and it depends on what side of the production you fall on. You know, if you are more so a line producer, you're putting together sound and, you know, some more of the technical aspects of production. If you are a creative developer slash executive producer, you are given the green light on which stories are being told, right? You are looking at different adaptions of novels. You know, you are hearing out who's got the dopest stories on Tumblr, whatever, or you are, you know, creating stories of your own, and then you are deciding on who's going to be your crew, who's going to be your cast. You know, so you are basically the heart of the entire project. It can be something that a lot of people don't really want to do because it's a lot involved. You know, you a lot of times are responsible for pitching. You got to go out and grab the budget. You know, sometimes you got to tell the director no, you know, if you don't have a certain budget to facilitate a certain shot or a certain camera that he's saying that he's going to need for all these crazy scenes, you know, that type of thing. But it's basically the person who manages the entire production.
And I think that's dope because it goes, like you said, it goes back to your personality and just who you are. And even for myself, it's like, okay, I love directing, but at the same time, like for my personality, I know that I like to talk to people. I like to be engaged. I like to inform people, instruct individuals. So I think when you do things that align with who you are, the results are always greater. Like what I experienced.
I do have a question for you too, because
of course.
I never knew that you were interested in art. I would love to know, like, when did this happen? How did it come about? Has it always been there? Like, what's...
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think it's always been in me. I always was creating, like when I was younger, to be honest, around Chicago, I would just take the train downtown, get lost on purpose. I spent my last, what was it, 150 to get on the bus, if you will. I go pick up my sneakers, put them in my book bag, and then from there, I just get on the train and write what I thought was me journaling, because I always felt like I was the youngest child. Nobody really listened to me. I didn't have a voice. And I was always shy as a kid, to be completely honest. But what I thought was journaling was always me writing a story. But it's just crazy how God brings everything back full circle in your life, because I did radio TV in high school. And then when I got to Tennessee State, I started thinking about money. I was like, okay, what can I do a degree in that gets me some money and get me a good paying job? Antoine Rucker used to always tell me, bro, just sign up for communications. You always over here in our building, like, and Lewis, I used to always be at his radio show. So it's just like being around those type of individuals, but at the same time, back then, I honestly can say I didn't believe in myself. You know, just even with the writing thing, I always had scripts and things of that nature, and just really understanding now, it's just like, it was always there. You were just pushing it to the back burner, whether it was for football, whether it was for not believing in yourself or whatever other reason. And then just after college, I got the job with Northwestern Medicine, which is great, good salary, etc. But I would come home like, I'm not fulfilled. Like, that's not really moving me. You know what I mean? So I would go back to writing. And then, and then, I met my business partner, Lakeshore High. She's really dope. She's a videographer, producer, etc. I was like, hey, Lake, I want to do these documentaries. And so I did a documentary series by the name of The Art Of. And with that, I did DJ Hot Rod from Power 92.3, Corporate, the rapper, actor, comedian. And then I did my boy Edo, who does graphics and arts. And then we premiered that at the Gene Siskel Film Theater, as well as another theater on the south side of Chicago named Harper Theater. So saying all that to say, like, it was always there. I've just kind of been ignoring it due to life and football and all these other things. I thought I was going to the NFL just like any other kid, but at the same time, it's just like my writing was something that always brought me back to myself, and it kept me grounded in a sense. And I used to just write, like, I'll make up stories like, hey, I see Jenae talking to XYZ or whatever. And then I would just like build my own world around it. And then, going back, like my mom writes, my brother writes, I got cousins that write. So it's just like, this is something that was always in our bloodline, if you will. And then I just kind of wanted to start out with the documentaries, get my feet wet. And I think that circumstances, things I was doing in life at the time kind of had me overlooking my natural gift. And I think after I graduated, getting a healthcare job, being in the healthcare field, which is dope, you know what I mean? Because we need more Black men in that field, but at the same time, just understanding what's for me. And like I said, the money and everything was cool. But at the end of the day, I just really had to ask God, okay, God, what do you want me and how can I serve? And just even taking myself out of the equation opposed to just thinking about me and what's for me is just like, okay, how do I serve? And what capacity do I serve? So that's when I built Black Market, if you will.
Thank God you did it sooner than later. People go their whole lives and aren't willing to make that adjustment or that sacrifice, the sacrifice of the great paying job and all of that, maybe it may take a little bit longer in creative lanes to see the type of money that a medical job could pay you right away. But
sure.
There is nothing more fulfilling than doing what you're called to do.
For sure.
And following your purpose,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. Like, even from you, like, okay, I'm gonna use this last $500 or I'm gonna take this out of my savings. And I know for me, like, when we were doing the documentaries, we barely had little to none budget. Well, while we follow some of these people throughout the span over a year, if you will. So even understanding that, it's just like, okay, I want to do this documentary. What the money look like? Like, there's none. But
you know what I'm saying? If you just move,
yes,
everything that you need will fall into place.
Yes.
But if you don't move, you won't know that. You won't be able to learn that. You won't be able to really exercise what it means to trust. To really trust the process.
Yes.
To trust God, to trust whatever it is that you believe in.
Sure.
You really have to put one foot in front of the other for God to even meet you.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite scripture is faith without works is dead.
For sure.
I have a lot of faith in the world, but if I'm not working, how can God meet me? If I stay in my room, close the door, and I'm just in there all day,
yes,
and I'm reading all this stuff, and I'm like, what, this could really work out, but I never leave my room. Yes. What am I really expecting to gain? Do I really have the faith that I say that I have? So, again, taking that $500 was me stepping out on faith, and I didn't know what I was going to get. I just knew
even moving to New York or even moving to LA and just establishing. LA. Yep.
All of that takes faith, because a lot of times too, you have people around you that love you and they want the best for you. If you say you're moving across country, they're like, with who? Who do you know out there? Like, I'm not going to be with you. What are you going to do? I'm going to survive.
Yeah.
And be fine. When I moved to LA, my mom she had a hard time with it. She really did, because she was like, you're not a drive away. I can't just get in the car and get to you. And I was like, well, everybody, including myself, we're going to have to get our money up. Should there ever be any emergency where somebody has to fly to somebody, we should all be able to afford to do that, you know, so that's something we can work towards. And so she was like, okay, I'm just not gonna be fearful. I'll just, you know, believe that whatever I need, whenever it's time to get to you, I'll be able to have and just trust.
And everything's been working out. So that's just even a much greater testament that it always works out when you
Yeah.
move, for sure.
Absolutely. And then that, you know, the people that were scared for you in the beginning, they end up being so proud and happy for you later on. So it's like, dang, you know, it makes you happy that you went ahead and did it too, you know?
Yeah. So can you talk about home stretch productions? I know that's something close to your heart and something that you're building. Can you just let us know what that is if you're willing to share?
Yes. So as I move forward with becoming a producer and I learn more and more of the importance of having an LLC to procure productions on, I decided to curate Homestretch Productions. Homestretch, people always ask me, why did I name it that? Because the home stretch is my favorite part of the process. I used to run track, and I remember one of the emphasis being on the home stretch, that final leg of your race, where you get to see what you're made of. You get to see all the hard work that you've put into something come into fruition. And you got to really, really, really stay on track and go through the ribbon. You know what I mean? Don't slow up. You got to go all the way through. And one of the things that Kobe used to say is rest at the end and not in the middle. So Homestretch Productions is right now just to facilitate all the different productions that I'm curating. Right now I'm working on a web series, and it will be the first production under my production company. So I'm super excited about it.
And I think, you know, even that analogy, taking sports into what you're doing, because I take a lot of what I learned on the field into, you know, my craft and things like that. And even Kobe, the Mamba mentality. So I think that really resonates a lot and just shows, like, I believe everybody who plays sports is very competitive. Like, you can't tell me you're not if you play some type of sport, you know.
Yes, anything sports related, anything competition related, honestly, because I was a cheerleader and that was very competitive too. So, I mean, honestly.
Do you want to share a little premise, if you can, about the what you're building as far as the web series?
Yes, so the web series is centered around soul ties. Are you familiar with the term?
Yes, for sure.
Soul ties is basically a spiritual bond that lingers after the relationship is over. And it's something that I dealt with personally. And when I learned of what soul ties meant, it was really, really insightful, because I know a lot of us walk around thinking that we have these crazy connections to other human beings. It's like, that's my person. I love them. I have to be with them. Almost this obsessive nature. Come to find out, you may just be spiritually intertwined and haven't figured that out yet, or how to break it. So it basically is going to follow the journey of three girls who are trying to break a soul tie. And they all have different types of soul ties. That's all I really want to give about it. So I don't got to give away too much.
That's interesting.
But it's exciting, and I want people to look at the project and reevaluate who they're holding on to in their love lives and why.
Okay. I like that a lot, Jenae. I like that a lot, because that's something that people put to the back burner as well, or honestly don't know about. But yeah, it sounds like you write from experience, do you?
Yeah, I feel like that's the best way to go about it. The short film that I wrote was from a dream that I had. I hadn't experienced that, gratefully, because that was about gang rape. So the content of it was a little bit more on the darker side.
Sure.
But as far as soul ties, they say the best way to start out is just to talk about things that you really, really know.
Yeah.
And that's something that I really went on a journey to understand myself in my real personal life, how to break it, what it even was. So that's something that I kind of want to share also with the masses. I share with my loved ones, like my girlfriends and stuff.
For sure.
But I'd like to take it to another level. And I see people talking about it all the time. Like, I just see little things about soul ties. But you know, when you're writing something, it's kind of like when you buy a new car. You start seeing that car everywhere where you didn't see it before. So I'm just like, okay, let me just stay on track. I got to push this out. So you'll be seeing more of that next year. So I'm really excited. Yeah.
Because I personally write from experience, and I live by the tagline, every experience is a story waiting to be shared. So understanding that is just like, okay, that's what motivates me That's what drive me. And honestly, it's like, okay, I've been through it and I know somebody has too. So it's just
Yes,
like,
yes.
let me take what I've been through, share with someone else to essentially heal or release someone from something that I've been through, and talk about in that capacity.
So for you,
Mhm.
I saw that you were working on a project not too long ago. Is it a web series? I saw guns and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
everything else, and it looks so dope.
Yeah, so my brother, he's currently doing 6 years right now, but he's a writer also. So that's helping him get through that whole matriculation of things. And we wrote a web series about his life, if you will, his life. So it's called Armed Habitual Criminal, and that's what he was charged with. So I was like, hey, Mike, what if we take what you going through, what you've been through, and turn it into a web series? He was like, bro, I'm for it. And the 4th of July before he got locked up, I was writing in my phone. He was talking to me. He like, why you not listening to me? I'm like, I'm writing everything you saying down. I'm about to write a film about you. He like, how you gonna
Yes.
write about me and you ain't consulting me, bro? I'm like, we're gonna talk about it right now. But he like, back up. You write? And I was like, yeah. He was like, all right. And he like, I have already started writing something about my life. And I had just so happened to want to write something about him. And that's how we found out we both write. A few months later, he was somewhere that he shouldn't have been with the armed weapon and got arrested. And then, once we wrote that first letter, I'm like, hey, remember that conversation we had? I think it'd be dope to share your testimony in this capacity. So
That is
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. So
Amazing.
we're filming that March of this year. Then like the next week, literally, COVID happened. COVID
I
happened. So
know. I
we got a
know.
trailer. We got a trailer. I'm
Okay, okay.
so I'm thinking, like, okay, how do I really pitch this, and or do I just really want to put this out myself? So just been praying on that, but at the same time, it's time to move and do something with it. So I think I'll put out the trailer 2021, pitch it, and see
Got
what
it.
takes from it. Yep.
Okay, okay. So you're looking to pitch it and get it distributed.
For sure. Yes. Yes.
Okay. That's
So
so dope. I'm excited. I'm excited for you.
yeah, I'm
And
really excited too. I think that it has so many messages in it that resonates not only in Chicago, but all around the world due to individuals who just finding themselves in
yeah,
many capacities. Yep.
I think that's definitely gonna resonate. I
Yeah.
don't see why when one, you guys got so much truth behind it, then you got your juice plus his juice coming together. I mean, you
Good.
can't lose. You can't lose, you know?
Mhm.
I think it's
Yeah, I think that's really going to resonate. And just, I really was like, okay, how do we really help him heal? And
awesome.
really help him understand that by him healing is going to heal other people, just like we just talked about. So just understanding his process and what his gift is. Now that he understands that gift, we've been sending each other emails back and forth, script ideas. He didn't he didn't pushed out a whole series like a Black Game of Thrones, if you will. So
I love
we
that.
got some stuff on the way.
You got some heat coming. That's dope.
Yeah.
So, do you have any plans to act, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, so I actually acted, directed, and co-wrote it in that project. And that was my first time directing and acting and being a writer on that set. It was a lot, but honestly, Jenae, when I said I felt home, it's like, oh, God was like, this is for you.
Yes,
This is what you're
that's what
supposed to
it's
be doing.
about right
So
there. And I
yeah.
always say every director should act anyways,
Hmm.
because you know how to better communicate to your
For
actors.
sure.
You know, if you chose to just stay on the directing side or to always do both like Spike Lee does,
Hmm.
you know the language, you know
For
how to
sure.
communicate what you need to communicate to get what you need. So I think
Yes.
that's
And I think that's very important. Even like you said, Spike Lee, Quentin Tarantino, those are two people I really honestly dive in and study. Gene Luch Goddard. So it's just like, man, I study these guys. And Natalie would be like, boy, you coming out the room today? It's like, yeah, I guess I can for an hour. But I just really dive in and, because I didn't go to school for this. And I'm just like, okay, not just watching this film to watch this film, but just asking myself hard questions. What is he trying to convey? What is this scene
yeah.
showing? Like the
Just need
lighting in the scene portray, etc. So just really understanding the whole dynamics of what it takes to
So many
be a
elements
great
that tell
director.
the story,
Yep.
right? Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So.
the director's use of the lens is just equally as important as what the actor does. That's what the
Mhm.
dialogue is. You know, like you said, the lighting. And but you're in school now, right?
No, I'm not. I'm just YouTube Academy.
Okay. Okay. Like the rest of us, it's all good. I don't know why I thought you was
So
in
I
school.
did a program with the University of Chicago. So it was
Okay.
an initiative for individuals on the South Side of Chicago to essentially learn more, build relationships, and then we came together at the end of the program and put on our own screening, if you will, for the program. It was the first year, so we were like the guinea pigs of the program, but they got around to the second year, which is dope.
Okay.
Got more grants, etc. But I learned a lot of things there, met a lot of great people, and we made a pilot episode, if you will, at the end of the
Wow.
program. Yep.
Okay, so for you, you know, I'm in a big market. How do you feel about being in the Chicago market? Now, Chicago, they often talk
Mhm.
about Chicago here too. So Chicago is making noise. So
Mhm.
for you, how do you feel being in the Midwest doing filmmaking? Do you feel like you got everything you need? Like, tell me about that.
Yeah, so and I've been praying on that honestly, and just like, okay, God, because I personally feel as if Chicago's growing within film. But
Right,
like for myself, like I want to be around more of filmmaking. We have a few uh big production companies here. However, it's not a LA, it's not a Atlanta. So
right,
even for my brand, it's like, okay, how do I essentially build a hub for us that's made for film? And that's why I kind of wanted to have these conversations as well, because I know that, I can tap into so many different people within the film world, but I
right,
feel as if it's up to me to kind of start something here for people
right.
who's up and coming. So essentially that's what I've been doing while tapping into these larger production companies like your Center Spaces.
Yeah.
Even I have a mentor who teaches at Columbia. So he
Okay.
allowed me to come in, sit in his class and be a fly on the wall. So using those different resources to until I get to LA, Atlanta. But Chicago is one of those cities that is always going to be things going on. But at the same time, like I just really had to ask myself, like, how can I make it beneficial for people who's up and coming in film? So essentially
Absolutely.
using my platform to be that hub for creators, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, you really have an opportunity to blow Chicago out the water, honestly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you have so many creatives that are already there.
Hmm.
So that's the beauty. It's not like you in Utah, you know, where like nobody is talking about film. Like Chicago is still like a big deal, a very artsy city. So I think it's super dope. And then LA, like, yeah, LA is the mecca, but I'm seeing people figure it out all over the world. And
Hmm.
I think that's so dope. So to hear you say, one, you have a mentor, I think that's a big deal, you know, because you need that. You need some sort of guidance. I just kind of like got my mentor stuff up this year, and it's just been helping me so much, like to have somebody to lean on and ask questions to that can kind of guide you a little bit. Because I want to say for us, there really is no syllabus, you know, there is no blueprint to really follow, because you can get on all different types of ways. Like I hear so many people figure out their lane so differently.
Hmm.
And that's how I know you really just got to be a person that is still enough to hear,
Yes.
worry about your own path.
Yeah.
Just walk your own path, you know?
Because I mean, it looks different for everybody, is what I'm really learning. And, just understanding that dynamic of what moves you, and it's going to push you to where you need to be as long as you keep going, as long as you stay diligent and consistent. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And just willing to grow and stretch yourself to grow in that capacity. And I think for me also, it's just like understanding that, hey, you have so many talents, but at the same time, let's stick to this and let the
Right.
outsource everything
Woo. Now you just said a word right there.
else.
I swear to God, like there's so many things that I look at. I'm like, now there is a spread of things that you can do, but just because you can do it, don't mean you should do it.
Yes, yes,
You know what I mean?
I totally agree. But I think it's more so just finding people who are just as passionate, people who are just as serious, and just building that hub. Like I said, like for Black Market, long term, we're going to be that hub who essentially connects the dots and give resources, give back, have our own school of arts, teach these younger kids that, hey, you might not need to go to college. You can learn what you need to learn and, facilitate in that capacity by any means. So, yep.
That's how I feel about Homestretch. Homestretch is to be a creative community. I want it to be about inclusion, innovation, creativity, and imagination. Because I feel like, in some ways, we have lost some of that.
Yeah.
Even in my article about from Voyage LA, that's one of the things that I talk about, how I love the Goonies. I love Matilda. I love things like that. Even now, those movies, I was just watching Fifth Element last night.
Yeah.
And you can see that the cinematography and the picture is just old. It's older, but it's still a classic. It's so good, So I want to bring back those elements too. Coneheads, like who's talking about Coneheads anymore? If you ever seen
that.
Miss Doubtfire and stuff like that. But being able to bring joy back to film and to also shine a light on, like, there are other roles that you can have in the entertainment industry besides the big ones, the big ones, the writer, the director, the producer, and the lead actress. Like, you could be the best sound guy of all time.
Yeah.
You could curate the craziest soundtrack. You remember when Love and Basketball had that crazy soundtrack, like just, putting those type of opportunities in front of kids too. Like, you don't just have to be the actor or the director. Like, there are so many other ways for you to contribute to film that are equally as necessary.
Because all of us matter,
All of us. You cannot do one without the other. You need a collaborative team, period.
Yes, you have to. And that's why, like, I'm going to have those conversations with those individuals as well, even like composing music, as you say, because it's a film without music. It's life without music.
Yes, the lighting. I mean, you name it. As you go further into it, you start to realize that, wow, there are so many different elements to creating television and film. And there's so many things that you kind of learn on foot. At least for me, I was learning so many things on foot about all the different ingredients that go into pulling a project to fruition. And I'm like, man, what I could have done had I known this earlier, But you find it when you're supposed to, the information.
So if you had to give any advice for people upcoming in film or individuals who are on our level or above, what would it be and why? Sorry to just put you on the spot.
Dang. Okay. Honestly, it would be to never stop learning. Like, no matter how far you get, no matter what you achieve, never stop learning, because you can always learn more. And also not to doubt the person next to you. Everybody who's in a room with you has something that they can teach you. So don't get so full of yourself where you're not willing to hear from other people. Everybody has something to offer you, which is why I think it's so important to treat everybody so kindly on your sets or on any set that you're a part of, because there's what they call the little guys. Oh, this is just the background actor. Oh, that's just hair and makeup or wardrobe. Treat everybody kindly, because you just don't know, how that person can really influence your life, inform for you, teach you something, so that would be my main things. Never stop learning, treat everybody fairly, because you can learn from everybody.
And that goes back to another thing I had wrote down, just rapport and relationships. You used to talk about the importance of relationships, being that you've been in LA and you've been in New York in both industries.
Yes. I think that my mom always says, if you want a friend, show yourself friendly. Right. So I kind of just took that wherever I went, and it has served me, because I saw on your board actually that you were talking to Larry earlier. And Larry's one of the people that I call. I'm like, Larry, what you think about this?
Same here.
And Larry be like, Nate, don't do that because blah, blah, whatever the case may be. Like I got this mentor this year, a producer mentor, and I had an actor's resume, but I didn't have a producer's resume. So I called Larry. I was like, Larry, what is a producer resume? What's it supposed to look like? And he was like, Jenae, I'm a first AD, right? But I will send you my resume and you can, look at it, take what you can from it or whatever. But Larry, somebody I met in Nashville, and then I went to New York. And then after I left New York, he goes to New York. And when I came to LA, he came and visited LA to see if he wanted to be in LA. He stayed with me. So I just think it's super important to kind of lift as you climb. I have a good girlfriend who always does that for me. But wherever you have an opportunity to serve, I think it's important for you to do that because that is one that's planting seeds. Now you should serve because you want to serve, and that's in your heart. You don't serve because you're expecting, anything necessarily in return. But I think serving definitely just puts you in a position to have good karma with your relationships and how to build rapport amongst people. Like I produced a lot of different things for different people and I didn't take any money for it, and sometimes they ask me, well, how much should I pay you for this? But I knew the budget was tight. So you keep your money, you put it towards the project, and then when I need you, I'm going to call you. And if you can help me, that will be our currency, our currency exchange between each other. And that has served me too. That's helped me in so many different ways too, to say, okay, this person looked out for me. She didn't charge me no money. So, she needs me. They're a little bit more willing to kind of help you too, but sometimes you got to serve first. You can't expect for people to always serve you first. It's not always how it works. So, yeah.
And that's
the question. It was kind of like a roundabout.
No, I think it hit on all aspects, and I greatly appreciate that. And you answered it. You answered it well.
Okay.
Thank you so much for that. It was great talking to you, Jenae, and just really seeing you. And like I said, personally, I know that you were honestly one of the individuals who say, Trey, just jump. Just jump.
Go for it. Just go for it. And I'm glad to see you did.
Yeah.
You've been doing it ever since. So congratulations to you for taking that leap.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And just really having this conversation because we haven't just sat down and talk about the arts and just understand where I'm going and where you're going. So I thank you just for interviewing me as well. Like,
well, you said it wanted to be a conversation. So I was like, let me not just sit here and listen to all the questions. Let me make sure I ask them because I
appreciate that because it gets my mind going and it challenges me to be the individual that God has called me to be that could be completely honest and transparent. Yep.
I'm hoping that this is not our last conversation.
It won't for sure.
I will need to call my Chicago plug and say, hey, what do you think about this?
Look, I gotta admit something. I always thought you was from the city.
No, I'm from Detroit.
Okay. That's what Nat had told me. Yeah, Nat told me.
Yeah, I'm from Detroit, but my dad lives in Chicago. Okay. Well, he lives in Crete. He's outside of Chicago. So that may be why you thought.
Yeah. And then you hanged around all Chicago people in college.
That's my girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, that was my girl. So I mean, I guess Detroit and Chicago people just get along. I don't know. It's like twin cities.
Yep. So well, keep up all the great work. I can't wait to see the web series. I know you got so many other things, Home Stretch Productions, and let the people know where they can find your work.
You can find my work on YouTube at Array of Hope. Also, you can find me on Instagram at Jenae Hope _ at Jenae Hope _. And yeah, that's pretty much it right now.
Keep up the great work. I'll definitely be in contact soon. And thank you so much for spreading.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
No problem at all. And sorry about the little chop up, but
that's all good. We're working through. We adapting, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Bye, Trey.
All right, talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
All right. Man, that was good friend Jenae Hope, man, from the Tennessee State University. But man, she's so dope. Make sure y'all go check her out. Make sure that, you really just continuing to stay this course, man. Stay the course because that's the thing that God wants us to do. Stay the core. It's crazy. She from Detroit in 313. That's hey. But nah, man, stay the course. Thank you for tuning into another episode of Passionate Progress. It's your boy checking out. Trey Mo, man. I'm in here. Love. Be great.